Hi, Tim Unkert here. In this video, we're going to use like an introductory Ruby class to create a fraction. We're also going to use Mathjax and some HTML just to create a worksheet. I create worksheets for my students because I'm a math teacher and I use programming languages to do it. This will show you how to use some Ruby classes, just a very introductory, how to include them in another file, and then also how to use Mathjax just a little bit to create some fractions. So first thing I'm going to do is create a new file, and it's going to be a Ruby class slash file. I'm using RubyMine here, but you can use text editor or whatever. Just you'll see it gives me suggestions, helps out along the way a little bit. So what I'm going to call this, I'm going to do uppercase, call it fraction. Now that's going to name the file lowercase fraction.rb, but it's going to create this class called fraction. In there, I'll create a function to initialize the class, and I'm going to pass in a numerator and a denominator for my fraction. And to use these variables in other, let's see, we call them methods really, and other methods, or functions methods in the class, I'm going to use this at symbol. I'm going to say at numerator equals numerator, and then at denominator equals denominator. You'll see that RubyMine there is just giving me those suggestions a little bit quicker. And then I'm going to go down here and I'm going to create another method. I'm going to call it create fraction. And now I'm going to return what I want to return. So what I want to return is a little bit of Mathjax code, but just for the fraction. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with a double slash here, do frac. It's trying to give me some suggestions because it doesn't quite know what I'm doing here. But then I'm going to do a plus and then numerator. You see at numerator. I don't want to accept all of this. I could tab to accept this, but at numerator. So we're going to use an at numerator. We're going to make sure it's a string. And then we're going to close out that bracket, open up the next bracket, and then go out here and then do at denominator. And again, I don't want to accept all of that. At denominator to string, and then plus, and then we'll close that out. So that's going to give me the Mathjax code for the fraction. And let's say I want to use this for the distributive property. Well, I'm going to need a few fractions here. Yeah, so I'm going to do that. And so now I've got the fraction returned. So now I want to go back here and let's create a new file. And this is the way I do it, but you don't have to do it. I'm going to name it main.rb. It's just going to be a regular file here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to, well, let's create a loop. So I'm going to do that by saying I equals 0, and I'll say while I is less than 10, do. And then I'll go down here and increment I each time through the loop so we don't get stuck in an infinite loop there. And then I want to go up here and I want to create a file. So let's create a file to write to. And I'm going to say f equals file.open. And we'll call this, we'll do it in the same folder, distributive property, distributive-property.html, and we'll write to the file. And I also want to go up here and I want to import the class. So to do that, I'm going to do require and then the file name. So I'm doing double quotes. So I just keep them consistent. You could do single quotes. I'm going to just do fraction. I don't have to put the .rb there. And that's going to bring it in. And so now I can use that class inside of here. Now what I want to do is I want to create 3 fractions because I'm going to do like a distributive property type worksheet. So I want to create a numerator 1, and that's going to equal random number. So we're going to do rand and then 1 dot dot 10, so 1 through 10, and I'm going to duplicate that and do numerator 1 or num1, num2, and num3, or numerator 1, 2, and 3. And I'll also do the same thing for denominator 1, 2, and 3. Uh, and you see that this IDE is giving me suggestions. It's using a little bit of AI there, one of the plugins that JetBrains has. Sometimes it's a little over anxious. If you don't like that, you can, of course, undo that plugin. But anyways, so I've got those three things here. Now I want to write to the file. So what I'm going to do is f.write, and then I'm going to start to write to the file. And I want to start off by doing a div with the class equal to, and I'm going to do a slash here just to escape the, so I need to escape both the double strings here so I can give the class name. I'm going to call it problem, and I'm going to close that out there. And then I'm going to add onto my string, concatenate onto the string. And what I need to do is I need to actually create a few objects from this class. So what I can do is I can say, well, frac1 equals, and we got to do the name of the class. So it's going to be fraction.new, and then we got to pass in num1 and denominator 1. Okay, and let's duplicate that. We'll do frac2 and frac3. Okay, and so what I want to add now is frac1 dot, and then we want to create the fraction, and we want to make sure it's a string, and then, although it should be returning a string, but um, let's just do that anyways. And then what we need to do now is um, we're going to do a fraction times the opening parentheses here, and then we'll do frac2 dot create fraction. Let's see, it gives me all this stuff. It gives me too much stuff when I hit tab there. We just want frac to string here. So we want a plus, and then we want to add inside the parentheses here. And let me do word wrap here on this file. We go to view, active editor, soft wrap. That's what they call it in JetBrains here. And then we're going to do a plus, and then what I want to do is frac3 dot create fraction, and then make that to a string, and then plus, and we're going to close out the parentheses here, and you see it's giving me the option to close the div. That's kind of giving me suggestions here on what to do. And we want to also close the actual parentheses for the write function here. And so now I think we're close, but what I like to do is test it out. And we want to close up the function here, or close up the file rather, not the function. And so one thing I've noticed though, my IDE is showing me is these are kind of grayed out here, num1, num2. It's because when I duplicated this quick, I changed 1, 2, and 3 here, but I didn't change my random numbers that I'm putting in. So I'm going to do num2, denominator 2, numerator 3, denominator 3. Now you could have put some of these calculations within the class, and probably if you want to neaten this up, you could probably do that and make it a little bit nicer to return. But I'll let you guys think about that. Okay, so now let's run this. I've got a green check mark, so it probably will run fine. Okay, process finished with exit code 0. That means there's no errors. And now if I go to the side here, I see I've got this distributive property.html created. So let's click on that. And I see here when I run through, one thing I noticed is I didn't put a new line character. So sometimes that happens. We want to put a slash in here. Okay, let's run it again. Okay, now let's take a look. And now we've got some nice divs here with some code created, but I need something else. So I forgot the opening and closing dollar signs in the Mathjax code. So that's easy enough. So I'm going to do a space here and put $2 signs, and then we'll do a space here and put $2 signs, and now we'll run it again. So we'll run it again. Okay. And let's go here. And now we've got our Mathjax code sort of, but we did a space. We should have had the other way. So this is part of the process. So I want to add a space here, and I can take away the space here and run it. Okay. And now let's open it. All right. So now we can start working on this file. So we can go up here and do the exclamation point and hit tab. That's going to be an image shortcut. I don't like all of this with the viewports, so I'm going to delete this out and do meta colon VP and hit tab. That's going to give me a more minimal. Here we'll call this distributive property. And I want to get rid of this stuff. So we'll close out that stuff there. Go down here and paste it here. Okay, so now this is within the body. I'm going to surround this here with Control Alt T, and then I go down to surround with tag, and I'm going to do div class equal to container. Okay, and a couple things I want to do. I want to bring in the Mathjax CDN, so it recognizes this code. So let's do that. So we'll go here to the browser, search for Mathjax, and see how this mathjax.org. Click on this, go down here, we go to web integration, click start now, and I'm going to take this script right here, copy that, and I'll put a comment here, Mathjax script, and I'm going to paste it in right there. Okay, and so that'll be the Mathjax script. So now we can start to take a look and see what this looks like. Go here. We see we've got some stuff here. We don't have any of the problems numbered, which I forgot to do. So let's do that. But we have our math problem starting, which is kind of cool. So let's close this out actually. And let's go back here. And what I'm going to do is just copy this code that I have already, because we're going to do something in our main file here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pass in a variable, and that's going to be I plus 1. That's going to number the problems. And actually, I think I want to do it. Let's do it. We have to have that space there. Let's do it here. So we'll do I plus 1 here. So that'll number them. Let's rerun this. Okay. So we go back to here. We've got this file now. So now I can paste in this stuff here. And I can this div class, just get the bracket cut out there. I can go here, we'll close out the body tag, close out the HTML tag. We'll wrap this stuff, Control Alt T and Shift T. We'll wrap it with a div with a class equal to container there. And now let's take a look. And why do I still not have them numbered? So I have 1, 2, da 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 da. Okay, still needs some work. Oh, my numbers are showing up here. Okay, so this is part of the process. So we'll go back to here. I just want to have something like that afterwards. Again, I'll run this again. Okay, go back to here, open up the distributive property, and go here and paste in that code. Close out this, close out that. Wrap this with a class of container, because we're going to use that for styling in a moment. So now it's getting there. So now we have the numbers on the side here. So really don't want that. I want some spacing on the side. I don't, Mathjax automatically kind of centers everything. So what we can do, we go back here, is we can do some styling here. So we're going to create some styles, and we'll do a style tag. And first thing we'll do is the container class. We'll give it a margin of 0 on top and bottom, 0 on top and bottom, and 1/2 inch on the sides. And then you see it kind of moves in the margin a little bit there. And now we want the problem container to not be as wide. So I'm going to do problem and give it a width of 150 pixels. And now we'll bring those problems in. So now we're starting to kind of get our worksheet. If I want to, let's see, print to PDF, this is what it's going to look like. Not perfect, and we can style it some more. But you might want to put like, let's see, do a div with class of data. Do 2 of those, 1 for the name, and then 1 for the date. And take a look. We got our name and our date. Maybe the data class has a margin bottom of, I don't know, 25 pixels. And let's look at this now. And there we go. We've got our worksheet created, pretty much. I mean, you could continue to style this. One thing you could do is make the problem classes, maybe we could make them spaced out a little bit. So, we could maybe do like a width of, we could even wrap them, something like, let's wrap each of these. So let me just show you what we do. I'll wrap this with a div class, something like row, and I might go up here and say row display flex, and we'll justify our content, and we'll do space around maybe. And let's take a look at that now. So now we have 1 and 2 like that, and maybe we want to do space between, and that'll pull them all the way across. Yeah, you might not want to do that, but then when you go to print it, we got kind of a lot of spacing there. With these types of problems, they're 150 pixels, so we could even, do something like that, X that out, and, maybe then we wrap this, each of these, with a class of row, and this is just me kind of playing with it here, but just showing you what the possibilities are. And there we go. We've got our problems now. Now if we go to print, we see we've got a worksheet. Maybe we want to space out the rows a little bit. So we give the row a margin bottom of 100 pixels, something like that. And then we go to print. And there we go. We've got our problem spaced out on the page. So that's how I create a worksheet. I can use Ruby to create some random values for you. If I want to have, maybe in front of these, I want to have an X. That's easy enough to do, and I can do that. And quickly create a worksheet with Ruby and HTML using a little bit of classes. Hopefully you found this video helpful. If you did, please like and subscribe. That's it for this one.